Laura, let me know when you're ready. I would now call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at 7:05. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Present.
Mr. Schubert?
Here.
Ms. McCall?
Present.
Ms. Bennett?
Present.
Mr. Carpenter?
Here.
Ms. Haley?
Here.
Ms. Stanford?
Here.
With 7 present, we have a quorum.
As we start each board meeting, it bears reminding that the mission of the Rockford Public Schools is to collaboratively engage all students in an equitable first-class education for a changing world. I want to welcome our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, Representative Alejandra Gonzalez of East High School. Welcome. I will take a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Excuse me, we will now recognize and celebrate outstanding contributions of our student and staff. Mrs. Bennett or Mrs.
Got it, sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight we're excited to honor, our PS 205's outstanding students and staff and celebrate their great achievements. Please come forward to be recognized after you hear your name called. First, congratulations to Risa Middle School 8th grade principal, Tamara Butler. Tamara has been selected as one of 40 facilitators for the Illinois Affinity Group Network. The Illinois State Board of Education established this statewide system that will support and retain teachers of color. These groups bring teachers together to build a supportive community, examine current issues, and make recommendations that address those issues. Congratulations. Washington Elementary School 5th grader, Sarah Eitzel Solaris Huney, created the winning design for Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara's holiday card contest. The mayor said he loved her message of love, peace, friendship, and unity. She was recognized at its city council meeting. Sorry. Sarah was recognized at the city council meeting at the end of November. Last month, students from 3 RPS 205 high schools were represented at the NIU Olson Gallery High School Art Invitational. For Roosevelt, Dyson White. For Auburn, Jade Stone and Miriam Bassam. And for Jefferson, Miley Sigala, Erica Palos Ponce, Emily Chavez, and Maya Hildebrand. Maya was awarded a Best of Show award, which included a $9,000 NIU scholarship. Out of 5 students from the whole region, seniors Martez Taylor, Hassan Bates, Terry Horton, and Rakeem Cheney in Auburn High School's Business Academy were selected to be MLK Scholars. They each will receive a scholarship from Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity in varying amounts. Each year, the fraternity gives out scholarships for college to young men of color. Students must have a 2.5 GPA, collect 2 to 3 letters of recommendation, and submit an essay covering a hardship they experienced. These 4 seniors will perform a 3 to 5 minute oration in the annual Martin Luther King breakfast at Rockford University on January 13th. This one's kind of long, so bear with me. The prenatal to 3 team: Myalacia Ash, Gina Beaver, Paige Breeden, Miriam Castro Rodriguez, Kanisha Driscoll, Catherine Gatewood, Nicole Grissetta, Balbina Holder, Michelle Johnson, Latricia Jones, Rhea Jones, Sarah Lewis, Norma Perez, Carolina Rodriguez, Amy Skaggs, Nicole Giovanni, and Kimberly Nelson. The Early Childhood Prenatal to 3 Home Visiting Program has earned a prestigious endorsement from Parents as Teachers National Center Incorporated as a Blue Ribbon affiliate, making it one of the top performing home visiting affiliates within Parents as Teachers International Network. The official designation was made in October. Being named a Blue Ribbon affiliate affirms that the Prenatal to 3 Home Visiting Program is a high-quality member of the home visiting field, implementing the evidence-based Parents as Teachers model with fidelity. The program promotes the optimal early development, learning, and health of children by supporting and engaging their parents and caregivers. The program helps parents embrace their role as the child's best and first teacher. The program includes home visits, group connections, child screening, and connections to community resources. It equips parents with knowledge and resources to prepare their children for a stronger start in life and greater success in school. The Parents as Teachers Quality Endorsement and Improvement process helps ensure that Parents as Teacher affiliates are achieving fidelity to the Parents as Teachers model and facilitates continuous quality improvement. PAT affiliates are required to engage in this rigorous 18-month quality endorsement improvement process every 5 years. Parents as Teachers Blue Ribbon affiliates are exemplary programs, delivering the highest quality services to children and families. We would also like to celebrate 6 members of our home visiting team that presented at the International Parents as Teachers Conference this past October in New Orleans. Nicole, Rhea, Gina, Carolina, Kanisha, and Norma shared best practices in serving vulnerable populations through community collaborations. We're so proud of everyone for your amazing accomplishment.
Great job. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our members for amazing accomplishments. Thanks for coming. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Stanford. We are now on to the petition and communication portion of our meeting, where we invite the public to make comments. The board will not respond to comments at this time. If it is appropriate, you will be contacted in a timely manner by staff. Each speaker will be allowed no more than 3 minutes to address the board. It is not appropriate to address or discuss matters that would otherwise be confidential in such open meetings. If you look to your left, you will see 2 digital clocks. One shows the total time allotted to public comments, and one shows the total time for each speaker. We thank you for your cooperation with our guidelines. We have hit a record number of public speakers. We have a total of 16. Typically, our cutoff is 10. However, after we have reached the 30-minute mark, I will pause to get consensus from the board to continue so we can hear everyone speak. Please come in this order. If you are sitting in the back, prepare yourself and by moving a little closer if you're the next speaker. The first speaker for this evening would be Mr. Rick Naylor, followed by Anala. Is this Hicks or Hibbs?
I keep going first every time, but tonight I'm going to
Yes,
stay the
sir.
whole time. So don't keep letting me go first. Okay, first of all, I want to be honest with this board up here. This board here has been less hostile to people of color than the boards in the past that have been majority white. So I'm going to give y'all credit for that. But also, the main purpose of this board, any school board, is to make sure y'all pick the right superintendent, okay? Make sure you do that. And the second thing is, y'all got to set the agenda for this school district. That's why this school district is failing, because y'all have not set the agenda. You pass it on to the administrators, don't know what they're doing, and that's why we're not really getting anything done. I mean, these administrators hide behind these buzzwords like equity, diversity, inclusion. They hide behind those things because they don't want to get down into the facts of what's really going on, because the facts are going to show that these guys are part of the problem. Not in some situations, they the whole problem. So let's keep that in mind. Now, you got this thing out here, right here, about trying to recruit teachers of color. There's nothing in here that's telling anybody about why these black teachers don't want to work here, or why they come here and work here and they quit. To me, it's ridiculous to have an affinity group for black teachers. Why they need that? If you got 4 black board members, these white staffs should be intimidated about getting smart with these black staff. They not. They don't even fear y'all. Now, like the teacher, now I'm gonna tell you what they say. Because these guys go around and tell y'all what y'all want him to tell you what they said. They said like this. They said, look, we want more money But the real problem why we don't want to work here is because of the disrespect from these white staff. That's why they want to work here and say, until you address that. And then they also said, if I get into it, one of these white staff, who can advocate for me? These black staff are hired. They gonna advocate for these teachers? No. So until y'all get people in there and say, look, when you come to Rockford, when you come to RPS 205, this guy here you go to for your problems. They can't go to these black staff here because they probably problem too, and that's why they got hired here. So when are you going to actually make these people look? You told the administrators a long time ago. You said we want that administration to reflect the population of these schools. Do it. It's not one Hispanic staff member in that cabinet. So, but the student population with Hispanics is over 30%. Why y'all let this administration keep doing this and they don't get no consequences? So the thing is you need to do now is to move on from this administration. Just tell these guys, look, this is y'all last year. We're moving on. There's no more promises about we're going to improve. I need watching that clock up there. I'm going to stop because I said what I needed to say.
Nyla. There's a mispronunciation of the name. Anyala? Hicks? Yes. Thank you.
Tell me your name.
Hi, my name is Nyla, and I go to Lewis Lemon School learning about multiplication and stuff, about how I stretch rulers and stuff, and then I be working on math, and then I be working on my language arts.
Where you go learn? Where you after school program at?
My after school program is usually with Brother John right
No.
here.
The library. Where you?
The library, I go to like this IXL thing where I do all this work and
Say it again
more.
so Dr. Reed can hear what line you going online.
I go on like language arts and like measurement stuff.
What's your teacher name?
My teacher name.
No, the coach. At the
My
library.
teacher name is Mr. Professor.
Okay. Tell them that the library, the teacher at the library is a teacher from Lincoln Middle School. He teaching them tutoring. He's not charging us, and plus he's going online. And one of our biggest things is we talk with all three principals. Want the kids, this is like homework. Every one of our kids is behind in math and reading, and he's taking that up on his time to spend a whole hour with 7 of our youth, working with them with the math and reading. And so we looking at the board. The board is endorsing the principal to encourage more of our kids to go to after-school program where they get credit towards their school grades when they take up this here after-school program and doing something positive. Thank you for allowing us to speak. We got 2 more. Come on, y'all.
King Jameer, followed by Mr. John Tech Bradley.
Okay.
My name is King Jameer Sullivan,
Tell me what
and
school you go to.
I go to Riverdale, and I go to Riverdale Elementary School.
Tell me what you
And
said.
wait, what?
Go ahead. Tell me what you said.
I stay in
Orton Keys.
Orna Keys, and at my school, we do math, we do multiplication, we learn stuff with staff members that come to our school, and they learn us about stuff too. And then at the library I go to, my math teacher, he help us
With your math?
with our math and learn what we don't know.
Tell them what he's going to do when you get 200 points.
When we get 200 points, we get pizza.
Yeah. And the other thing is we want to also implement at the middle school and the high school, they get credit for going on field trips. This year during Black History Month, not only is we going to the Underground Railroad, but we're going to the Museum of Science and Industry, and we also going to the Cyber Museum, which is both educational. And every event that we go on, we taking people that have never been to the Cyber Museum, never been to the Underground Railroad, never been to the Museum of Science and Industry. And we're looking at the school board to reinforce with not only middle school and high school, but our kids in elementary school should get credit towards going to an educational program where they can come back and talk about what they did, like you do in an essay, and in some form of some type of credit they could get. So if we start from the roots, our little kids start from the grassroots elementary school, then we can bring them on up through middle school and high school. We need to start working on our kids, and from going from the education system to the prison system, we need to educate. We need to work with our kids going to education and being productive members in our community and in our society. Okay, and now it's time for me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Okay.
You are next.
I'm next.
I must say, that was clever. However, going forward, should you have the kids speak when their time is up, when they stop speaking, the clock will stop.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
All right. I want to take this time to remind everyone that even though we didn't get that 205 grant for transportation and after-school program, the community and the union endorsed us. We was validated when we wanted to get that. We needed a church van. The church van cost $30,000. The church sold it to us for $5,000. In less than 4 weeks, we was $1.07 short from $5,000. Mind you, the money came from the people in the community giving us 10s, 20s, 30s, 50s. One person gave us $1,000. What touched me most and brought tears to my eyes was when 2 moms came to me and gave me $100 saying their sons is locked up in jail. They said instead of putting the money on their books, give it to Brother John. I also want to thank the teachers, the faculty members, because it totaled up to $500 that we got from faculty members because everybody said Brother John need a bus and whatever. And so after 5 weeks, we was able to raise $7,000. And so when we got the church van in less than 5 weeks, and when we get this church van painted, we plan on painting it red, black, and green. We're going to make sure that I put unity in the community on that van, because if it wasn't for the community, we wouldn't have that van. And I want to thank the union, because I'm not a politician. I don't own a building, but for the union, the community to endorse Brother John, Renewal Turning Point, that validate what we're doing in the community. So instead of complaining about what the school not doing or what they should be doing, we done stepped up to the plate where we got Riverdale, we got Welch, we got Ellis, we got Lewis Linden School, and we got Constant Lane, where we picking up these kids. And the other beautiful thing is the principals and the teachers is asking me, can we pick up more? If we had got this funding from the 205, and I'm going to thank Earl Dodson because he came straight to me about filling out this grant. Well, what we have learned for over decades, everybody else can fill out a grant and get the money, but when African Americans fill out a grant, we have to go through a whole lot of red tape, and it's very rare that we ever get that grant. I'm going to tell you another thing. I only went for the grant because I really don't like grants. I'd rather just do things freely because I like my freedom of movement, and a grant holds you down where you can't, where it tell you what you can and you can't, what you can and can't do. And with that being said, this is bigger than me. I got 20 kids, but we got hundreds out there who need an after-school program and who need transportation to get back and forth to school. And thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds clever, huh?
Yeah, don't do it again. Mr. O.J. Moore, followed by Kyle Wolf. This is O.J.
Yeah. Okay, I'm let him go ahead, speak. Tell me what school you go to.
Adjust his mic, please.
I'll go to Constance Lane.
Okay, tell me how old you are.
8.
What grade? Tell me what grade you in.
3rd.
3rd. And tell them how hyper you are.
A lot.
And tell them what you do at the library.
Go on IXL and do math.
And also, Dr. Regan here one more time.
Mr. Bradley,
I'm sorry.
I caution you.
Okay.
Go on IXL to do math. Go on IXL to do math.
What else you doing? Tell me what else you doing.
Do reading.
Now, for the first time, they're a little nervous. Any other time, they be talking like 40 going north. And
Thank
now I
you.
gave them an opportunity to talk.
Thank you, OJ. Thank you very much.
Come on, y'all.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kyle Wolf, and I want to take these 3 minutes for us all to sort of empathize with the experience of RPS 205 students. I want us to try and, first of all, recall our own school days. Think about those memories of a favorite teacher. I'm sure they come back to us all. And I think what we need to understand is that those relationships formed from a place of trust, a safe space with those teachers, and I think that is needed, and I'm pretty confident that a lot of experts would agree that learning can't take place until you have that safety. Now consider the importance of trust for many RPS students, especially those who have faced childhood trauma. Imagine stepping into their shoes for the next few minutes. Studies indicate that students exposed to childhood trauma have brain scans that resemble that of soldiers with PTSD. Just think about that. And as we embark on this imaginary walk into school as an RPS student, we bring with us 2 general mindsets: a learning brain or a survival brain. And for those with a survival brain, fixated on threats, seeking clear facts, and in a perpetual state of panic, I would like you to please sit down and try to learn. And for those with a learning brain, open to new information and embracing ambiguity and fostering curiosity, I would like you to also sit down and learn the same. Before you take off those imaginary shoes, picture navigating to school in a survival mindset, always on edge, seeking quick answers and feeling overwhelmingly in a state of panic. While I don't know the mindset of each of us in this room that we grew up with, I do know that many students who attend schools in Rockford have that mindset. And that leads me to a few questions that I will try to get through in 30 seconds. When we plan to raise graduation rates, do we truly understand all of the students in RPS? Do we consider the impact of crime and abuse on their ability to learn and the urgent need to build our social-emotional learning opportunities in this district? Do we acknowledge Rockford's high poverty rate, surpassing even Chicago, and its impact on students' learning? Do we genuinely believe our current strategies are effective? And do we need to immerse ourselves a little more frequently in the shoes of RPS students? Thanks.
Thank you. Kevin Ryan, followed by Carl Mackins.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, public, I am a teacher at Eisenhower Middle School. I am the computer tech and publications teacher there. I am one of their association reps, and I have the honor to be the Area 2 Secondary Director on the REA board, Executive Board. And I want to make a couple passing just sort of observations about the superintendent's contract renewal. I'm assuming most of you know how you're going to vote already. You've had plenty of time to think about this. If you don't know how you're going to vote, this might actually be an interesting school board meeting. But assuming you do, I'm hoping that you understand what it means to support a superintendent. For the last several years, I've been kind of wondering what the role of superintendent is in this district. We see shifting duties and responsibilities and people being in charge of this all of a sudden and then this all of a sudden. And quite honestly, I wonder what's going on down here, because I don't look to this place for firm guidance, wisdom, or answers. I basically try to avoid it as much as possible, and a lot of my fellow teachers agree. It's not a place that adds any efficiency to our day. That's really important. I feel that the fundamental job of leadership is to add efficiency to the organization that they are in. If they can't do that, then they're not an effective leader. Now, there's a lot of things that can go into what adds efficiency. One of the main criteria that I have is, can a good leader attract other leaders? Well, I've seen some good leadership in this district. But I talk to a lot of teachers, and being on the union executive board, you can imagine the stories we hear. And there are a lot of building level individuals who I wonder why they went into education to begin with, to be honest with you. Downtown leadership is not as stable. People move in and out of departments a lot, and things change. Sometimes it's curriculum, sometimes it's support, but we can never really rely on things being stable. So in the future, I guess what I'm asking is, do you really know what you want out of your superintendent? Not just in test scores, but in things like climate and culture. And do you know how you're going to measure that? And are you going to communicate that to us?
Thank you, Mr. Ryan.
You.
Good evening. I'm here to complain about an incident that happened with my granddaughter at McIntosh school over on Pier Point and school. In October, my granddaughter was acting up like kids do. She was disciplined by placing her in the hallway, unattended, and with the teacher's infinite wisdom, nobody was watching her. She left to go out a side door, made it all the way across the school grounds, crossed School Street, made it all the way to her house. Nobody in the classroom went after my granddaughter. Middle school boy, to this day I don't know what his name is. I would like to see him. But he brought my granddaughter back to school. Nobody went after her. I talked with the executive director, Mr. Blake, and he said that he addressed you guys to try to install an alarm on the side door where the teachers will punch in the code to get out. And he said, with no avail, you guys have never got back to him. That is the height of, that is negligence. That is child endangerment. If my child would have got hit by a car or some guy, pervert or some, took my daughter, we wouldn't have this conversation here. I probably would be in jail. Now, to me, that makes no sense where the school kids can just leave the school and nobody know what's going on. Now, I I've talked to an attorney. He said that the best thing to do, come and address you guys and see what can be done about it. To this day, I went to the school. There's still no alarm on the side doors. I mean, how much would it take to install alarms on the side door? You go to any of the restaurants, any other places like that, they have alarms on the doors. I mean, this is a 5-year-old child. Now, I'm sure you guys didn't hear about the incident, did you? Nobody heard about it. That's not surprising. Now, my attorney said, talk to you guys and see what would be done about it. If you guys can't do anything about it, come back and talk to him. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir. Hillary Sims, followed by Harvey Keller.
Good evening. Emmanuel Keller. Those that have the pleasure of knowing him call him Manny, or just plain coach. The termination of Manny as an 8th grade boys basketball coach was shocking news to almost all of us parents of the 8th grade boys basketball players. This man has gone above and beyond for all of these boys. He's helped them grow as players and as young men. My son's growth as a player and as a student under Manny's guidance has been impeccable in just a short year. I've gotten many comments and emails from teachers at Eisenhower Middle School to let me know how proud they are of his growth. Let alone, I've had the pleasure of witnessing the impact Manny has had on numerous other young students I've had the pleasure of knowing. Watching the aftermath of Manny's termination and the boys falling apart was troublesome. They're still struggling to get it together under new leadership. It's not the Eisenhower Middle School basketball team we're used to watching. What was even more troublesome was watching how RPS pulled Manny in many different directions with this circumstance. It not only affected Manny, it affected the boys. Nobody gave them an explanation. Nobody told the parents of any news. What bothers me the most is RPS trying to hold Coach Manny responsible for what another party posted on social media. That's like holding my son accountable for me posting about a controversial topic on my social media. What kind of message are we really sending? All in all, I'm really disappointed in RPS and lack all the confidence in them to not only have their employees' backs, but the students as well. Because if they can't protect their own, how can I expect them to protect or have my children's backs? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Harvey Keller. I've come to support Emmanuel. Emmanuel is the type of guy, he's going to get a chance to express himself, but he's the kind of guy that loves what he's doing so much that he would do it for free for how long, I don't know. This he's a manager, he's a coach, he's a great listener, and this is the kind of guy that you will want a part of what we're doing today, which is something positive. These people choose to come here instead of going home doing whatever they're doing. They're sacrificing, and a lot of you guys are as well. But it's very important that we take time and find out and get to the root of what happened here. I mean, it's just like being in a sandbox and somebody come over and take something from you. And that's what have happened here. I don't know if you've been there before, but what do? You just sit there because you don't know what to do and don't know who to talk to. Okay? This right here is a golden opportunity to be here. You will want someone. It's just like having that school bus driver. You want that school bus driver to come and pick these kids up. You depend on those people. It's important. Other words, you guys hear about it. And we do not know what then happened with Emmanuel. We don't know what kind of stress that put on him and his family. This right here happened a little while back. What have he been going through? But I'm saying this right here. People rally around this guy. We use this word rally. Do you really mean it? People rally around this guy. Students rally around him. Parents rally around him. This guy take his own income and spend it with the kids to keep their morale up. Yeah, that's right. They on a winning team. These students on this program, they're winning basketball games. And this guy have been removed from that position with no explanation.
Thank you. Emmanuel Keller, followed by L.C. Wilson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emmanuel Keller, and I believe I was wrongfully terminated from my position at Eisenhower Middle School. Ben Dresser brought me on last year for the 7th grade boys basketball team. I exceeded with the students, and they respond to me as well. Ben also asked me to coach track and field and football. I took all these kids under my wings and protection. I spent my own money to help to create a boys bond because I believe that a bond helps create a good team. They trusted me and they rallied upon me. Coaching is something I dreamed of since I was a kid, and it wasn't something I took lightly. So I helped these kids tutor, build relationships with peers, problem solving, and making sure that they were fed, and they took every advantage of every opportunity that was presented. These kids finally saw that potential, and I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was there. That I was there was never a dream without, I wanted to make sure that they knew that there was never a dream out of reach, and I would be there every step of the way, even if that meant falling a couple times. On November 15th, I received the call that I was terminated and effective immediately. On the following day, I was called by Don Williamson that I was under investigation. I was told that I would be getting done November 27th, and I got terminated on December 6th by Mrs. Neal. The investigation wasn't complete, but I wasn't interviewed, no warning, no explanation, just terminated. And no reason was just listed as termination letter. I previously was told to due to a picture that I didn't even post. A picture consists of me, a friend who happened to be a Boylan freshman coach, and the kids are various RPS middle schools. What the picture didn't show was these kids were on a freshman team who attended Eisenhower Middle School the previous year. What the picture didn't show, the parents that brought their own kids there on their own without me asking them to come. I wanted this to bring this to everybody's attention because good coaches are hard to come by. And you can tell the fact that the 8th grade basketball team has fallen apart, grade-wise, team-wise, and being salvageable. To bring their mojo back, I want my job back, a minimum, at least a fair investigation. I can speculate on really what I know about what happened in this investigation they had without me in the room. But what can I do? I was punished for the most extreme content, and I didn't even do anything. And that's it.
Thank you. I'm going to pause and get a consensus from the board to continue on. You can nod. Thank you. Mr. Wilson, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is L.C. Wilson. I'm a member of Eliminate Racism 815. Our mission is to be passionate advocates of equity-driven policies and practices in the Rockford Public Schools so that all students will be prepared for social and academic success. Some of you have heard members of this organization speak on other occasions. Eliminate Racism 815 applauds RPS programs to increase the number of teachers of color and grow our own that have been started. The persons of color participants lag behind in most areas. Dr. Jarrett's Grow Your Own data sent out was very encouraging. Rockford University Pathway Program, there were 17 graduates working in 205 this year. 14 students will complete student teaching this year. 43 candidates of color students on track to student teach over the next 3 years, NIU LEAP program for paraprofessionals in a fast-track program to be teachers, cohorts, number 1, 18 people of color. Number 2, 20 candidates of color. Working toward licensure as teachers. Note 13% of paras in the district are of color. NIU Principal Residency Program, 2-year Master of Education Principal Program plus 2-year residency. 28 graduates serving in an administrative position this year. Central State University Partnership, recruiting from HBCUs, has 3 CSU students in the Aspiring Teacher Program this year. Diverse Male Teacher Initiative has 10, all are people of color, 50 invitations only seats statewide enrolled in degree completion program. Visiting International Teacher Program has 8 Spanish bilingual teachers for this year for teaching Spanish bilingual classroom. The above, grow your own, needs to be vigorously pursued as hopefully the long-term solution of RPS's employing persons of color. I know my time is up, but I want to say this. Dr. Reed, continue what you are doing. Make goals that are attainable and strive for those.
Thank you, sir. Tessa Ramirez, followed by, and I'm sorry, you told me this before. I'm sorry? Shahrazad Shakali. Thank you.
Hi, I'm the parent of a student at Maria Montessori where my son and others are being bullied. He was bit so severely that he was sent to the nurse. He's been stabbed with a pencil, had a chair slammed into his face, been punched in the nose and the back of the head, kicked, scratched in the face to the point of bleeding, and shoved several times, all without provocation. He has been witness to several attacks on others, including the teacher, who has been spit on, and one incident in which he saw a fellow student get stabbed in the eye. My child is 5 years old. All of this has served as his introduction to school. Rather than hearing what he's learning, I get to hear about who was assaulted that day. I was told because this bully is a pre-K student, he's not subject to the code of conduct written by the school, and that state law prohibits him from being expelled. Is there a reason he can't be provided some type of off-site services, move to another classroom to see if a different setting would be a better fit? In the wake of these ongoing violent episodes, I was told that a space was available for my son in an alternate class. When I asked why my son should have to move rather than the violent child, I was told that the other child was comfortable in that class. In other words, the solution proposed by the school was that my son be victimized again by making him move to another class while they continue to enable the perpetrator. A reasonable person might ask, what kind of message does this send to the other students? That same person might conclude that it is a message of retaliation. Yes, the child in question here is 4 years old, but being stabbed in the eye is not made less severe by age. Rather, you should consider his age in light of how formative these early years are and how enabling and destructive your lack of intervention is on a young mind. There is no reason to assert that this child's behavior will be corrected given the current course the school is taking. You should, however, assume that this child's behavior and the associated consequences will get worse. So the painfully obvious question is, what has to happen to make you care? You have instructed a teacher to hold the child's hand throughout class, not to provide a sense of comfort, but so that the child won't attack someone. The teacher who is physically restraining the child's movement is diminished in focus. The child himself is being enabled on a daily basis and given no sense of a real-world consequence. The classmates have to live in fear of another child's sadistic outbursts and have lost access to portions of their classroom and the teacher herself. And parents have to wonder when we're going to get a phone call reporting an even worse incident. So who's being helped here? On a hypothetical spectrum of assault, what do you suppose comes after stabbing someone in the eye? Meanwhile, we all just keep talking as if the comically obvious solution is just beyond all of your ability to comprehend. If you allow this child to stay in the classroom, you are wholly liable in your negligence. The kids in that class get to wonder every single day if it will be them that get hurt and how badly, or maybe if it will be a permanent injury this time. I filed 2 reports with the superintendent, with the Board of Education, and with the police, and I encourage other parents to do the same because our students shouldn't fear going to school.
Thank you.
Hi again, everyone. Good evening. My name is Shahrazad Shakali, and I teach at Eisenhower Middle School. I don't think I shared this last time. This is my 7th year teaching. I also coach year-round. I coach dance and track and field. So I'm heavily involved in the school community, and I wholly believe in the importance of building relationships with students. For days, I've been contemplating what it is that I wanted to address, because there are 2 big issues here. But first off, prior to that, I wanted to thank you guys for the outpouring of support that I received last time. Dr. Reed emailed me the very next day. I'm really looking forward to us finalizing a day to meet. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that you guys heard me rather than just listened. But I do have a few questions. Since when is it okay for a non-certified special education teacher to teach an instructional class? Because to my knowledge, legally, it's illegal. Yet I am teaching an instructional class and I am not special ed certified. And I've reached out about this to our superintendent as well. I asked that he work with the director of curriculum. In addition, I can't stop thinking about our mission statement and the part about the first class education that modifies to what is going on right now. So I thought I would give you a first class lesson on what is going on in Palestine, because that is the biggest question I've been receiving. And these are all statistically supported, by the way. I didn't make this up. This is all according to UN.org. So let me take you back. In 1917 to 1939, under British mandate, it placed Palestine under political and economic administration. This secured an establishment of a Jewish national home. Mind you, Jews only made up 3% of the Palestinian population during that time. 1939 to 1945. In the early 1920s and 1930s, the mandate facilitated Jewish immigration from Europe to Palestine. 1947, the Jewish population increased to 30%. 1946, Zionist Jews controlled less than 6% of Palestine. Attention to Zionist Jews. 1947, the UN proposed a grant for Israel, 55% to a Jewish state and 45% to a non-contiguous Arab one. This was rejected by Palestinians. During a time they owned 94% of Palestine. May 14, 1948, British mandate expires and Zionists declared the state of Israel to be born.
Thank
Welcome
you, ma'am.
to
Your
today.
time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Archer, followed by Susan Nicholas.
Good evening. I would like to think that all the stakeholders in our community are working toward a common goal, graduating students and having them be productive members of society after that. We should all be on the same side. I and many other teachers feel like we are not being supported in what we do. We are not feeling safe in our own classrooms. We are not feeling our voices are being heard. We are set up for failure and being made scapegoats when failure inevitably occurs. Some of the failure is systemic across our entire national education system and society, but based on our recent state report card, our issues here are larger. Rockford has a disproportionate number of intensive schools, the lowest possible designation. While there are a great number of reasons for this, I want to make sure and highlight a few. For a variety of reasons, including a widespread teacher shortage, we are overwhelmed. Teachers are teaching extra classes, which impacts their prep and instruction. This also ensures that classes will quite often be at maximum. The simple fact is that 33 students in a classroom virtually assures limited learning under the best of circumstances, and current student behaviors make it not the best of circumstances. We want student success. Simply lowering the bar to make the numbers numbers of on-track students look good does not help anyone. For students to be successful, there needs to be student accountability. Students are not given any evidence that they need to pass classes in order to advance grade levels, because in reality, they do not. A 6th or 7th grade student in my building can fail every class and move on. In 8th grade, we try to communicate the need to pass a certain number of classes, and a small number of students might be retained, but by this time, the trajectory is fairly well set, and many students will probably not succeed in high school. A student who cannot read beyond the 1st grade level is not going to be successful in middle or high school, no matter what the interventions are, and massive amounts of interventions tax the system. We're also not serving our bilingual and special ed students. Bilingual classes are overloaded, and translation supports for district assessments or other needs are not in place. Additionally, the district consistently is unable to follow guidelines set by the state in regard to bilingual and special education numbers in classrooms. When pressed on this issue, the district seems to shrug its collective shoulders. A co-teaching model was put into place this year to seemingly deal with this issue, but as it has been implemented without any guidelines or follow-through, it looks to be unsuccessful so far. There's a massive disconnect to people in this building and what is happening on a daily basis in our buildings. For starters, the district leadership team was disbanded at the superintendent's behest and no longer meets. Teacher voices being ignored in areas such as the academic calendar and technology that we actually want in our classrooms, among others. District leadership seems unaware of the issues facing classroom teachers today. I would like to offer an invitation and a recommendation. Every district level employee and every board member should be a classroom sub at least once a month. I feel your perspective would immediately change as to what the reality is for a classroom teacher. The elephant in every classroom is discipline. So I'd like that issue to be the last one I talk about. Discipline in buildings is a massive ongoing issue. If we are data-driven, the data suggests that while important, having SEL trainings in lieu of actual discipline is not working. Among issues with escalating physical violence, teachers are verbally assaulted by students every day, and there are rarely any real consequences for this. It fosters an atmosphere of helplessness and anger at the system, which results in a feedback loop that sees more and more teachers leaving, adding to the problems they already have. How many more good teachers can we afford to lose? When does the system collapse?
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. May I have permission to remove my mask? Okay, thank you. My name is Susan Nicholas, and I am a proud teacher at Jefferson High School. I'm not sure which direction I am facing, but one of the directions. First, before I begin, I want to tell you a story, and hopefully it resonates with everyone in here. There was a little boy, when he went to school, he was not valued, nor was he taught how to read or respected. He went home, and his father was an alcoholic who beat his mother, his little brother, and this little boy. The little boy continued to go to school and have the same type of atmosphere when he went to school. He wasn't respected. He was looked at as if he was his father's son, instead of looking at this young man of the ability that he had. And I'm going to be quick because I still have a whole page and a half to read. He continued to go and continued the cycle. When one day a man came to his father's door and asked if he could take this little boy out of the home, which he did. The younger boy, his younger brother, stayed. So there are two different stories that go on. And I apologize. I hope you let me continue a little longer, because it's very important to understand. The little boy, once he moved to a different household, he went to school, and a teacher gave him a book. For the first time, he was in junior high, and a teacher gave him a book. His little brother continued the cycle. The little brother passed away from hepatitis B. The older brother is a retired commander in the Navy who happens to be my father. When I begin my school day, and I don't want to get upset about this because I have like 45 seconds. When I begin the school year, I tell the story of my father through a storytelling, because when they look at me, they see me as an outsider in Rockford. I tell my story to show them that my heart matters to them and that I will always be there for them. I'm going to read this now, sorry. I hope that you allow me a mulligan. I currently teach CTE, hospitality, and adaptive physical education at Jefferson High School. My classroom is a little different from others in that the transition program...
Ma'am, I'm sorry, your time is up.
May I please have a mulligan?
I'm sorry, I cannot approve that. I do invite you to come back to the next meeting for part 2. Unfortunately, I cannot permit that. Thank you. We are now on to the action items. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4A, the 2023 levy?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll. Excuse me. You have a... Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4B, resolution and notice of public hearing on the amended budget 23-24?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4C, American Institutes for Research?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 4D, the Computing Technology Industry Association?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5A, Board Policy 2.172, Board of Education, use of consultants?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall? Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent from the vote.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5C, policy? Please. One moment, please. Excuse me. One moment, please. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5B, Board Policy 4.60, Operational Services, Purchase and Contracts.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall? Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 absent from the vote.
Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5C, Board Policy 6.20, instructional materials?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve item 5D, Board Policy 7.180, students preventing bullying, intimidation, and harassment?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
I have a statement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know we have it in here that once the template is made available, we'll review. So just as a statement that we do that once that's available.
Absolutely. And we will get that added to the agenda at that time. Please call the roll.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I would like to provide an opportunity for individual board members to provide a report on the joint conference. It don't have to be anything lengthy. We'll start with Ms. Bennett and work our way around.
It's exciting. I get to go first without knowing that. Okay. So one of the first sessions that I attended was titled Real World Scenarios. And so I sat at a table with multiple board members from a district that has 1,700 students. So it's very refreshing to hear the different difficulties that they have with 1,700 students. But a lot of them had 15 plus years of experience on the board, which I found very informative to listen to, and also just to be able to interact with so many different districts was very appreciated. And then just two others to note, I went to a training specifically about expulsions and how some different districts have done some kind of trauma-informed practices and just different ways that they're structuring the summaries and things of expulsion, which was very helpful. I know our RPS attorney was also there as well, so that was lovely for her to be there. And then the last one was about trauma-informed classrooms in schools. Once again, some of the districts discussing information were very small districts, so less than 10 schools, for example. So implementing things in districts that are much smaller are obviously much easier than ours. But I overall thought the conference was great, and to be able to interact with so many different size districts was very helpful. So that's what I got.
Thank you. Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you. I took some notes on the sessions I went to. One I went to was student residency, which Ms. McNeil was also at. That was informative and interesting to me about residency disputes. Another one, I went to a couple that were kind of directed at, I think they were suggested for newer board members, including communications. And that was kind of, a lot of it was on communications with the board and the superintendent. And it was informative. It was led by two different large districts that had recently hired new superintendents, actually. And so they had kind of set forth the way they have worked on communications between the board and the superintendent. That was helpful and informative. I also went to one that was called, I think, The Art of School Boarding, which was interesting and also had a lot to do with the board's role and in giving direction to the superintendent. And those were the sessions I went to. I mentioned last time I went to the delegate assembly, which I reported back on last time. Thank you.
I also attended the expulsion seminar. It was very interesting just to see the different processes people take on, the different things they factor into what warrants an expulsion. Got to meet a lot of different board members from around the state, different sizes, with able to pick their brain how they interact with their superintendent, how they interact in their schools or don't interact in their schools. It's an amorphous thing, and I don't think anybody does it in one particular way, which I've only been doing this in one way, or thought only to do it in one way. So it was good to get different perspectives. Also had a facilitator who spoke about how boards should vote, and kind of was trying to talk to and persuade about how boards should be strong and unanimous in most votes. And and I think that people disagreed with that. So just a lot of different perspectives, and it was a good weekend.
So I attended several sessions that kind of, couples that really stood out for me. And one of the ones was the Art of School Boarding and how to work collaboratively with the administrators and the school board. And, that was just one insight or one perspective where you were kind of, taught or directed to basically work collaboratively as partners with the school board, with the administrators and the superintendent as board members, and know exactly what's going on, and to be able to move forward and go get a consensus among board members and hopefully stand behind that consensus. Another session that I attended was facing implicit bias and microaggressions and how to identify those. And that particular session just really kind of taught you or instructed you to have empathy and kind of stand in somebody else's shoes, to be able to identify that and address it when you see it. And so that maybe you could have that other person see things from your perspective and how to persuade in those situations. And how that even if you are from a marginalized group, that you may also have those microaggressions and how to identify and address those. The other ones, I enjoyed the keynote speakers, both who spoke. Went to another session on ABCs of school finance, just because that's an area I think I want to learn a lot more about. And then newcomers. I went to a session about the newcomers, and it was I was fortunate enough to hear the last board meeting that one of the instructors from RPS 205 actually spoke about newcomers, and that's an issue that we still need to give some attention to as a school board here in Rockford.
Go right ahead, Ms. VP.
I did not attend due to breaking my ankle, so I have no report.
Okay, so as much as I wanted to attend everything, I was focused on the sessions around governance and the role of being school board president. So, which was quite enlightening, and this is no disrespect to anyone, but I discovered in a greater way how important it is to learn your role for yourself. Because if you fail to learn it for yourself, you are at the hand for someone else to give you information to mold you to be what they desire for you to be. So when I had an opportunity to reflect back on my earlier years, because, you know, one thing about being a school board member, you don't ever master it. Let me just put that out there. You never master it because it is always something that will come up. And you have many individuals that feel that they have the definition of a school board member. And I employ everyone to really educate yourself on the role of a school board member. Specifically, as a board president. So while I'm not brand new as a school board member, I am new as a school board president. And so I attended a session, Leaders Leading Leaders. And it is very important that leaders observe and pay attention to whom they're leading. So you must lead by example, and you must be committed to the commitment. You make very difficult decisions. You have to work with what you don't agree with. You don't shut down because it wasn't a yes for you. You have to continue the work. You have to understand that it is important that everyone understand the board and RPS 205 have 2 employees. That is the superintendent and legal. Anywhere you go, and I had opportunity to network and have conversations with school superintendents, have conversations with board members. When you hire the school superintendent in any district you go to, that school superintendent builds his or her cabinet. Whether the board like it or not, whether the community support it or not, that is a fact. So we have to learn how to respect the boundaries, have those difficult conversations, deal with those conversations, and understand how the district is set up. For example, we can't afford to lose a single teacher. However, the teachers are a part of a bargaining group. And as much as I would love to say, Aaron, do A, B, and C. Excuse me, Superintendent Jarrett, do A, B, and C. The teachers have a union representative who stands in the gap for teachers. And it is our desire that we be able to meet the needs of our teachers while we are simultaneously meeting the needs of our students. And that is one of the greatest challenges. Does it mean that I won't have a conversation with the superintendent about the needs of our teachers? Absolutely not. I will forever have a voice for our teachers. I'll have a voice for our students, regardless of their race. I attended equity immersion And unfortunately, individuals look at equity as though it is a race. Equity is not a race. It is based on a need and how much we need to do to meet the need. And that may come in a variety. Another example, since the report was requested, there was a parent who had a need for her child, but because her need was not as severe as another, the accommodations that she desired could not be met. That wasn't equitable because it was based on something that she needed to do. So what does equity really look like? So we have a responsibility to look at the needs of our students and meet those needs while, again, simultaneously meeting the needs of every student. That is not easy. So, governance, I said all that to say governance is a must. And we can pick the district apart. We can pick the superintendent apart. We can pick the board apart. But we have a responsibility to our students. There was a session on community engagement, and I just shared, parents play a big role, and I've shared with community. Yes, RPS 205 have a responsibility, but who's going to be that voice to the parent to increase parental engagement? Because we hear the voices. Who's going to be that voice? So, just to give you a fraction of what I did at the joint conference, that is what I did. Networking, governance, and training on board president. Any discussion? Moving forward. We are now on to the consent portion of our meeting. May I have a motion and a second to approve the items listed in paragraph 6, Performance and Monitoring Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any discussion? Are there any, hold on one moment. Are there any consent items in paragraph 6, for board members who wish to have pulled for separate consideration? If not, please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 7, Planning Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items in paragraph 7 that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion and a second to approve item 8 A through E, which are meeting minutes from November 28th and December 2nd, the expense reimbursement for joint conference and fee waiver for Shadow Premier, the closed session minute release, and the Freedom of Information Act.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any consent items contained in paragraph 8A through E that board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion and a second to approve item 8F, which is the amendment to the superintendent's contract?
So moved.
Well, I'm not done. Okay. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
While we cannot discuss employee matters, we can discuss the terms of the amendment. The amendment extends the contract for 2 years. I will start with the discussion regarding the length of the proposed contract. So let me pause here because this is running together. Yes. So we will vote on tonight to extend the superintendent's contract, and for how long. Superintendent Jarrett have served our district for over 10 years. And the vote will be based on the terms of his contract. His contract could be reviewed on the website. So it's not a secret to his contract. And anyone could have had plenty of time to review it and ask questions, speak on it. So I just wanted to share that. Are there any board members who wish to express their thoughts on the proposed length of the amendment or any other terms contained in the proposed amendment? Is there a motion and a second to amend the proposed term of the contract from 2 years to 1 year? Is there a motion and a second to amend the proposed term of the contract from 2 years to 1 year?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Carpenter.
It's more of a point of order, I guess, but was Ms. Stanford's motion to amend the contract for 2 years? And is this a motion to amend that motion?
Yes. So now we have a motion to amend the original contract amendment from 2 years to 1 year. So we can have discussion on that motion.
Thank you.
Are there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
I'm confused. What are we voting on?
So there's been a motion and a second to amend the contract amendment.
So if I vote no, we're going back to the original.
If this motion does not pass, then we would go back to the original 2-year amendment. Correct. Does anybody else?
Any other clarities needed? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
No.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
No.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
No.
The motion fails by 4 noes, 3 yeses.
Which means Dr. Jarrett's contract. That's correct. Now the motion for 2 years.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
No.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
No.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes with 4 yeses, 3 noes.
So the contract for the superintendent will be extended for 2 years. Apologize for any confusion, board members. We are now on to the closed session consent agenda.
Ms. Board President,
Yes.
I would like to enter a motion to move into closed session momentarily before moving forward with paragraph 9.
Can I get
for the purpose of discussing HR matters?
Can I get a motion and a second to reconvene in closed session?
Second, Ms. Bennett's motion.
Yeah, well, yes. To close session at 8:38.
We have to vote.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Public announcement. Thank you so much for your patience. We'll reconvene shortly in about 5 minutes. We will now reconvene in open session at 9:04. We are now at the closed session consent agenda, including 9A, residency student CB and HA, B, residency hearing, office report, student CVs, family resident dispute, C, appointment of Ruth Sanchez as 12-month director of bilingual and multicultural education assigned to administration, D, appointment Ryan Brown as 12-month Director of Bilingual and Multicultural Education assigned to administration. E, workers' compensation settlement. YJ, HR report. Is there a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 9?
So moved.
Are there any items?
Second. I second that motion.
Okay. Laura, were you about to say something? He seconded. Okay, thank you. Are there any items in paragraph 9 board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Please call the roll.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
We are now on student discipline. The 10-day suspension of H0041X24 is affirmed. B0013X24, H0039X24, H0043X24, and P0066X24 are expelled for the remainder of 23-24 school year through the first semester of 24-25 school year. H0045X24, H004624, and H0052X24 are expelled for the remainder of 23-24 school year through the entire 24-25 school year. P0082X24 is expelled for the remainder of 23-24 school year, the entire 24-25 school year through December 18th, 2025, 2 calendar years from the date of board action. As for H0044X24, the expulsion is held in advance contingent upon an expulsion and advance agreement for the remainder of 23-24 school year through the first semester of the 24-25 school year, which can be terminated early based on the conditions set forth in the EIA. Is there a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 10?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items in paragraph 10 the board members wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Mr. Carpenter.
I would ask that 10A and 10H be pulled.
Anyone else? Consent items 10A and 10H have been pulled. Please call the roll for items not pulled in paragraph 10.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Consent items, Mr. Carpenter, can I put these two together?
No, can you keep them separate, please?
Sure. Consent item 10A has been pulled for separate consideration. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent item 10A?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
No.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 no.
Consent item 10H have been pulled for separate consideration. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Abstain.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
The motion passes with 6 yeses, 1 abstain.
Is there a motion and a second to approve items in paragraph 11, letters A through double E, as presented and detailed in the December 19th, 2023 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any items in paragraph 11 that the board wish to have pulled for separate consideration? Ms. Bennett?
Yes. Item L, H0051-24.
H00. I'm sorry.
5-1.
H0051.
Yeah, item L, please.
Got it. Okay. Consent item LH0051 have been pulled. Please call the roll on items not pulled in paragraph 11.
Ms. Pearson?
Yes.
Mr. Schubert?
Yes.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Ms. Haley?
Yes.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Consent item 11L has been pulled for separate consideration. Do I have a motion and a second to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Schubert?
No.
Ms. McCall?
Yes.
Ms. Bennett?
No.
Mr. Carpenter?
No.
Ms. Haley?
No.
Ms. Stanford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearson?
No.
The motion fails by 5 noes, 2 yeses.
The next item on the agenda is Superintendent Jarrett's report. The floor is yours, Superintendent Jarrett.
Thank you so much. Board President Pearson often talks of meeting fatigue, and I think it's an important term. And so as a result, we have a really important report tonight. We've shared the written version of it for the board regarding an update on some of our recruiting efforts, and I have Dr. Reed ready to go for tonight, but I actually would like to postpone that when we're fresher. I think it's a really important discussion. There's a great deal of community conversation about this topic, and Dr. Reed was certainly ready to go tonight, but I think I'd like to do this when it's a little earlier in the evening, if we could, perhaps even at the committee of the whole meeting. But what I do want to do is make sure we make time for Alejandra, our student representative. She has waited patiently and has been a wonderful member of our SSAC, and I would like to cede the remainder of my time to her to share her perspective attending the board meeting tonight, as well as watching the board meeting virtually, so she was prepared to make some remarks. So Alejandra, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Okay, so at the last board meeting that I watched, 4 representatives talked about students with dyslexia and special needs at the schools and how they would like to get testing done at a younger age and have the proper resources. My response to that would be often parents are uneducated at the early signs of children with dyslexia and special needs, and they usually don't know how to identify or find help for the child. So for a long period of time, it can go unnoticed. And I feel like the school should provide more resources and make it more of a subject that isn't so hidden or like not talked about enough. And this would also help with our graduating numbers. And almost 5% of all students in our nation's public schools are classified as having specific learning disabilities. Every teacher can expect to find students with learning disabilities in their classroom. By allowing us to find resources for the parents and the student, it will allow us to not only help the student and the family, but help the community and the district with our numbers as well. It's not an easy thing to have a child tested or like explain to them what we are trying to find. So creating an awareness and a safe place for both the family and the child is our #1 concern. And by having them not feel different, but feel included and feel heard and understood would allow for these programs to thrive. Okay, I'm done. I didn't know if I had to say I was done.
To be clear, Alejandro, you do not have a clock on you, but no. But I want to thank you for your thoughtful words, and I will not even attempt to step on that. So I will conclude my report based on her words, and Dr. Reed will be reporting to the board on our update on some of our recruiting efforts at a future board meeting. So thank you to the board, and thank you to Alejandro for your very thoughtful report.
Are there any comments from board members at this time? Ms. Stanford?
I just want to say that Mr. Schubert and I had the opportunity to do the inaugural coffee chat last week. What an experience that was.
Did a good job.
We had a nice turnout, and I thought it went really well, and so I'm looking forward to the next one.
Anyone else? So Ms. Stanford and Mr. Schubert did a fantastic job at the coffee chat. Yeah, I showed up. And I thought that it was a perfect setting. And now, of course, I would have loved to have had more space. I said, Earl Dawson Jr. set me up. He gets blamed for everything, right? So it was small. And of course, we filled the room. And COVID is still very present, but it was an excellent conversation. You all did a very good job. I would like to, is there anyone else that have any comments? Okay. So, yeah, we are in mini fatigue. I'm going to make this really quick. So just, we don't have to have an answer tonight, but as we move forward, and I noticed that we have reviewed board policies, but I'm noticing that the administrative procedures are extremely out of date, and just direct me to the person who would bring those up to date. And there's other questions that I have. When there's a cross-reference, and I look at the cross-reference and I'm looking at the administrative procedure, there's a gap there between review and revision. So of course it poses a question, how are we really carrying out procedures effectively where it relates to our district if the administrative procedure is not being updated? That is under governance. That's why I'm bringing it to light. So whoever I need to follow up with, I will.
I will make sure we get this on our cabinet agenda and then coordinate with you to get it to get an answer about who will follow up with what and when we can get that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Good night. Merry Christmas and